Welcome to the Ravensvale Coven. The Coven features short, independent stories with themes ranging from dark horror and fantasy to any other disturbing fiction. The Coven contains stories written outside the ongoing storyline of the Ravensvale universe. The stories are submitted by listeners, authors, and storytellers and are carefully curated by the staff of Ravensvale. To learn about our guidelines for submitting your story for consideration, go to www.ravensvale.com and click on the Submission tab on the menu bar.
The Ravensvale Coven is part of our dark fantasy horror anthology podcast and may contain explicit language or thematic elements not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The Last Mortal Moment. Let me say that when Eddie told me about the storytelling festival, I knew I would be present and performing. I had a problem, though. My stories and writings were not of the right variety. I had nothing spooky or scary that wasn't part of some homebrewed Dungeons & Dragons lore. I had nothing that was short enough, most of my other writing serving some specific task or a book that I'll release someday. Which meant it was time for something new to be created. As I started to work on that, I began thinking about a story about a monster, but specifically I wanted it to be from the monster's perspective. I also knew that it would have a lot of alliteration because I like alliterating, and I never get to use all the words I like. But then it hit me. I started to think about what it would be like in that very first moment of becoming a monster. What about that transition from mortal to monster? It was the end. The feeling resounded throughout the whole of my existence. Serrated thuds stuttered, slowing, stopping, as everything was shattering. Angry, impotent tears tore through the thick terror plastered to my face. Sickening silence. Sound stood still in this last mortal moment. I broke. All that I had held holy, held in my heart and hands, flashed free and forbidden from fated life. Only seconds ago, I was laughing. But the breaking clouds showed the bright black dropcloth of the night, laying bare the bulk of the large, looming lunar eye. The contrast of light love and dark loss makes a cavity clawing coarsely through my chest more distinct. Sorrow slid like soil and silt from a wretched, crumbling, raging riverbank into my soul. I wished for time to tick faster again. Would that the clock spun. But the only movement in the morass of memories was the draining of joy, replaced with agony. Sarah, my sweet, stunning, silly little girl, Sarah. Her terrible, tiny turmoil, sour suffering stained her face. Her green iris, once illuminous, became ever emptier. I fled the lack of look in her eyes. A sudden and sordid spray sympathetically steals her from sight. noiselessly. My knuckles creak with constant, corrosive clutching. So close, I imagined I could feel his breath. My baby boy breaks. Jonah was clenching and kicking, his gaze searing my face. He gasps breathlessly for help. In his horror, I saw the antithesis of a life lived defending the downtrodden. He never failed to stand stolid before the source of another suffering. In the silence of the last mortal moment of his life, I was forcefully focused on his fear. I found in this, the final second of his life, he was not brave. He was cowardly. Pain and misery were all the dying child could muster at the most important moment of his brief life. As time stretched eternally, I was left to ruminate on how the rest of my existence would be tainted by a boy breaking. Another's eye caught mine, bloodshot, burnished with loathing and bursting with fear. A woman wept, white-faced, while watching wordlessly within the mortal moment. No, not just a woman. My wife. Well, wife for now, but not much longer, I suppose. Death does us part and all that. Eliza's battered body betrayed the burrowing rage that ravaged her cantankerous contempt, coiled coldly in considering conviction. Yet no amount of righteous fury knits the evisceration of the heart through the throat. Limpid lurches of spasming sinew shared the last of Eliza's strength. Wet, weak, woolen fur formed furiously, running red right across my skin. Grotesque, the gobbets of grainy hair grew from the furrows fast covering my flesh. A new but ancient agony appeared in an oft-repeated overture. Many monsters' most morbid memories are from mistake. Creating your loved one's last mortal moment is a macabre rite of passage for all who pass from mortal to monster. It was the beginning. The feeling resounded throughout the whole of my existence. Serrated thuds started speeding as everything was shattering. Angry, impotent tears tore through the thick terror plastered to my face. Sickening sloshing. Sound screamed, shooting through the afterbirth of the last mortal moment. Moon made mother. She mocked motherhood, with her moonlight bathing the bodies of the bloodbath that bore another beast into the world.
The Ravensvale Coven is a production of Small Raven Media. Today's episode was written and performed by Jeryd Bolden-Greer. Audio engineering and sound design by DeVan at Nicky D Sound. Copyrighted 2023 Small Raven Media. All rights reserved.